What if my girlfriend meets her real husband on the day I propose? When I knelt on one knee to propose to my girlfriend, I suddenly saw a line of text appear above her head. Don't be impulsive. This cheating woman will meet her real husband in 2 more episodes. Under the relentless barrage of bullet comments, I sprang to my feet, turned around, and ran. But in the very next second, I crashed straight into a little beggar. The bullet comments exploded again. The rich, beautiful girl is here. Bro, go for it. Some comments even urged me on. Propose to her. Don't hesitate. She's going to be a domineering CEO in the future. Looking at the little beggar in front of me, ragged clothes, dirty face, completely disheveled, I suddenly felt like I was being set up. Chapter 1. The one I ran into was a little beggar. She looked about 17 or 18. Her clothes were tattered, her face smeared with grime. She was still holding a loaf of bread, and judging by the panic on her face, I guessed she'd just stolen it. We both fell hard to the ground. She glanced at me, hesitated for a few seconds, then got up and bolted. Luckily, I reacted fast and grabbed her, snapping, "Damn it, you think you can just run after knocking someone over? What? You don't even have basic manners?" She replied. "I don't have money to pay you," I said. "I don't need money." I looked at the girl's face, grinned, and said, "Just compensate me with yourself." About a week ago, I realized my world had become a little strange. No matter where I went, I could see things like bullet comments flying wildly over my head. They said that my girlfriend Willow, whom I had dated for 4 years, would soon cheat on me with my buddy. They also said that the brother I'd always been extremely close to was actually my half-brother, my father's illegitimate son, and that the reason he got close to me was to take revenge on our entire family. That was a lot to process. It took me several full days to finally understand what was going on. I was some miserable male supporting role in a ridiculously melodramatic soap opera. The protagonist was my half-brother, Makoto, abandoned by my father as a child. He hated our family to the core. He schemed his way into my life, stole my girlfriend, and in the end destroyed our entire family. And until the day I died, I still treated Makoto as my best friend. I was basically an incurable idiot. Even after being cured, I'd still be drooling. The plot was apparently so outrageous that the audience lost it. Bullet comments flooded in, telling me to grow a spine and stand up for myself. I don't know if their resentment was too intense, but I could actually see those sarcastic comments. So I hurriedly withdrew a marriage proposal. I planned to stay as far away as possible from the cheating scumbag and trashy woman. I had originally been worried if I really broke away from the original plot, how was I supposed to survive? I didn't expect the big shot to show up this soon. Using the excuse that my leg had been injured and I needed someone to take care of me, I kept her around. Then I rummaged through the apartment, found a dress Willow had left behind, and tossed it to her, telling her to take a shower and change into it. Anna didn't hold back at all. She went into the bathroom without a word. 10 minutes later, this girl actually came out half-wrapped in a bath towel. Her body was slender, and there were still a few scars on her skin that hadn't fully faded. Her hair wasn't completely dry, hanging smoothly over her shoulders, damp and glistening. The bullet comments instantly went insane. Some comments said, "Holy crap, my thoughts are starting to go downhill. Ah, with that figure, kid, you're eating real good." The barrage of bullet comments was flashing so wildly that I could barely see Anna's face. I asked, "Where are your clothes?" Anna rolled her eyes. "On the floor." They got wet. Immediately, the bullet comments started up again. "Fake. She threw them herself. She just doesn't want to wear your ex-girlfriend's clothes." Others commented, "Ha. No wonder Anna becomes a domineering female CEO. She's been this calculating since she was young." I did my best to ignore the deranged bullet comments, scratched my head, and said, "I threw out your dirty clothes earlier. Wait here, I'll go out and buy you something to wear." She snorted coldly and said, "Didn't you just say your leg hurt? How come you can move around now?" I'd completely forgotten about that. The excuse I used to let Anna stay was that she was here to take care of me. I coughed awkwardly and said, "I can't. It still hurts." Anna fell silent for 2 seconds, then tilted her chin toward the balcony. "I'll wear that." "Ah." I followed her gaze and realized she was talking about my shirt. I hesitated, "But I've already worn that." She blinked at me and said, "If you don't want to, forget it. I'm not cold like this anyway. I want to." Terrified that the bullet comments would explode with something even worse, I hurriedly shouted, "Put it on, right now, immediately." Chapter 2. I really didn't expect this. I didn't propose to Willow, and Makoto was the one who got anxious first. I had just coaxed Anna into putting on some clothes when his call came in. The moment he opened his mouth, he asked, "George, did you and Willow get into a fight?" Everything that happened between Willow and me hadn't even taken 2 hours. Makoto's intelligence network was truly impressive. A trace of mockery tugged at the corner of my mouth, but I still replied calmly, "We didn't fight. We broke up." Broke up? Makoto's volume shot up instantly. Why? Don't you really like her? His voice was so loud that even Anna, sitting next to me, turned her eyes toward me. She probably didn't want to make things awkward for me, so she stood up and headed for the kitchen. I asked instinctively, "Where are you going?" She replied, "To cook," I said. "No need. I ordered takeout." She nodded. Oh. Then Anna sat back down. Makoto clearly heard our exchange and immediately became alert. "Who are you with right now?" What I wanted to say was, "None of your damn business," but what came out instead was, "My new girlfriend." Once the lie was started, the rest followed naturally. I said, "Didn't you ask why I suddenly changed my mind?" "It's because of her. And pass this on to Willow. Tell her not to contact me again. That's all." After saying that, I hung up. Anna was young, and I was afraid she might misunderstand something, so I took the initiative to explain. "Don't be scared. I'm not some creepy middle-aged guy. I just said that nonsense to reject someone." She said, "Got it. You just used me as a human shield. Pretty sharp for someone her age." I grinned. Before I could respond, Anna continued, "Sure, bumping into you was my fault, and staying here to take care of you these past few days can count as compensation. But now you've caused additional damage to my reputation. Shouldn't that come at a different price?" I asked, "What?" Anna looked at me and said, "Being labeled as your girlfriend, 100 per time. That's not too much, right?" Now I finally understood how Anna became a rich woman. Her little scheme was so obvious it was practically shoved right in my face. Anna's words, however, really woke me up. What is the most reliable bond between people? Money. After all, feelings are fragile to the point of collapse when faced with money. Instead of racking my brain trying to please Anna, I might as well support her with real cash, treat it as an investment. That way, I'd count as half a partner. So after she finished speaking, I made a snap decision, pulled out my bank card, and handed it to her with both hands. I said, "There's 200,000 here. It's all my savings. Take it, use it to start a business or invest. I won't interfere." The moment the words left my mouth, Anna's expression as she looked at me started to turn strange, afraid she might pocket the money and run. I emphasized, "Let's be clear, this isn't a free gift. When you make money in the future, I get half." Anna stared at me, unreadable emotions churning in her eyes. After a long while, she finally said, "This card, give it to me again in 3 months. Huh? Anna turned her head away. I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but her expression looked awkward, almost a little shy. She said, "In 3 months, I'll be 18. At first, I didn't understand what the two things had to do with each other. Then it clicked. She probably meant that only adults could officially work. I nodded and said, "All right, then I'll give it to you on your birthday. Anyway, if you need money, just tell me. Don't ever treat me like an outsider." I didn't expect that in the very next second. Countless bullet comments would flood in again. The comments buzzed noisily. "Being a girlfriend costs 100 a time. And this guy drops 200,000 in one go. How many years is he planning to buy her for? Damn, this move is insane. Isn't this basically saying he wants to marry her?" The bullet comments completely stunned me. What the hell? Wait, I replayed what I'd just said in my head. Holy crap, something really did sound off. Could Anna have misunderstood too? Before I could explain, the doorbell suddenly rang like crazy. Anna glanced at me and took the initiative to go open the door. It was Willow. Willow clearly hadn't expected another woman to be in my place. Her brows twisted together as she shrieked, "Who are you? Why are you here?" Anna's expression was cool and detached. "Just 5 minutes ago, the owner of this house proposed to me with all his assets as a dowry. Who do you think I am?" As soon as she finished speaking, Willow laughed. She said, "He proposed to you? Kid, are you even an adult?" Anna raised her eyebrows slightly. "What? You're only realizing now that he likes them young. No wonder he dumped you." Then she added, "You should leave. As his new lover, I don't really want to see you." With that, the door was shut. The whole process was so smooth I didn't even get a chance to say a single word. My temples started throbbing violently. At this point, explaining anything probably wouldn't make a difference anymore. Chapter 3. Willow was chased off. I looked at the girl in front of me, who was clearly misunderstanding everything, and quickly stepped forward. "Actually, about that money." Before I could finish, Anna frowned and said, "You're walking pretty fast. So you're healed now?" Fuck. I got too emotionally worked up just now and, yet again, forgot about my crippled leg persona. In a split second, I plopped straight down onto the floor, clutching my right foot. I howled in pain. Anna sneered. "It's the other side, is it?" I went with the flow, furrowed my brows, and grabbed the other foot instead. After thinking for 2 seconds, Anna said, "No, that's not right. I remembered wrong. It is that side." From the look of disdain in her eyes, I already knew she'd seen through my little scheme. I laughed awkwardly. "Ah, healed. Anna rolled her eyes. Scamming a beggar like this, you really do have some skills. One sentence, and I instantly shrank into a quail. Anna returned to the cold indifference she had when she first arrived and held out her hand to me. She said, I acted in 2 scenes with you today. That's 200 total. Pay up. And I'm leaving. From the looks of it, I'd failed at being clever and ended up worse off. Not only did I fail to win her over, she now seemed downright pissed. There were only a handful of big shot characters in this whole story. The male and female leads were already out of my reach. And now I'd offended a future domineering female CEO. Was I supposed to expect any good ending for myself? I had only one thought right now. I absolutely could not let Anna leave. I said, listen to my explanation. Things really aren't what you think. Faced with Anna's go on, keep making things up expression, I steeled myself and blurted out through gritted teeth. I actually fell for you. Love at first sight, lust at first glance. So I pretended to be injured and tricked you into coming home with me. That 200,000, that really was the bride price for proposing to you. When she heard that, the coldness in Anna's eyes seemed to soften just a little. So I pressed on. Yes, I was wrong. I was wrong for falling for the wrong person at the wrong time. You're so young, I'm basically a beast. Before I could finish saying worse than a beast, Anna cut me off. She asked, young? I looked completely confused. Huh? She straightened her chest and said, what's young? Have you even seen it? I asked. Seen what? She said, if you haven't seen it, how do you know it's small? Wait, why does something feel off here? Are we even on the same wavelength? The look of frustration on my face clearly amused Anna. She smiled lightly and said, actually, it's not impossible. I didn't understand. Lowering her voice, Anna said quietly, I mean, liking me, it's not impossible. I wasn't sure whether, when Anna said that, the episode had ended, because I saw bullet comments flooding in from every direction. Some comments said, that line really hit me right in the feels. Did George save the galaxy in his past life to meet Anita? Why does it cut off at such a critical moment? Another week of waiting. Help, who's moving the Civil Affairs Bureau over here? Can they just get married on the spot? Calm down, everyone. Anita isn't an adult yet. Didn't she say it herself? 3 more months. I'm dying. I had a vague feeling that something was starting to go very wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It wasn't until that evening, when I washed some fruit and brought it over to Anna, that I suddenly realized something was definitely wrong. She was just a homeless little beggar, and I was the great benefactor providing her with shelter. Even if she wasn't overflowing with gratitude, how did I end up being the one serving her? Hearing my complaint, Anna glanced at me and said, sleeping under the bridge was pretty comfortable too. What? Is she blaming me now? Seeing the anger on my face, Anna didn't push it any further. She even comforted me, saying, 3 months is a probation period. If you perform well during that time, I'll allow you to be my boyfriend. Heh, like I care. Chapter 4. By all logic, without me in the picture, Willow and Makoto should have gotten together even more smoothly, but Willow seemed like she'd been possessed by something. She started bombarding me with messages. She texted, George, I know you have nothing to do with her. I'm willing to forgive what happened that day. Let's get back together. Then another one. Have you really forgotten our 4 years together? I don't believe you can be that heartless. George, I can't live without you. People are really strange. When we were together, she could barely be bothered with me. Now that we'd broken up, she suddenly found her passion. I couldn't be bothered to look at this overdue display of affection anymore and blocked her without hesitation. But that night, just after I fell asleep, the doorbell woke me up. It was Makoto, and a drunken, bleary-eyed Willow. Makoto said, she drank a lot tonight. She couldn't get through to you, so the bar owner called me. She kept insisting on seeing you in the car, so I had no choice but to bring her here. Makoto helped Willow onto the sofa and sighed. George, I'm not trying to lecture you, but you were making such a big show about proposing not long ago. And then you suddenly broke up with Willow. I really don't understand what you're thinking. She used to be so proud, and now she's drinking herself into this state because of you. She loves you that much. How can you bear to make her cry, no matter what she did wrong? Look at her now. As a grown man, what is there that you can't forgive? Listening to this almost made me laugh. What kind of logic is she's already like this? So what's there not to forgive? Peak simp mentality. The noise woke Anna. She leaned against the doorframe of the guest bedroom and said lazily, hey, handsome, since she's so wonderful, why don't you marry her? Don't encourage a taken man to mess up. The displeasure on Anna's face was practically carved into her forehead. She continued, and have some manners, will you? This isn't a trash collection center. You can't just dump anything here. You carried her in, so kindly carry her out the same way. Otherwise, I'm calling the cops. Makoto froze. You are? Before I could answer, Anna lifted her chin proudly and said, I'm his new girlfriend. For some reason, her tone even carried a hint of pride. Makoto's expression immediately turned subtle. Then he shot me an unhappy look. You're seeing someone new and you didn't even bring her for me to meet. No wonder things turned out so awkward. Oh. Now this was somehow my fault. I distinctly remembered telling him about it that very day. As soon as Makoto finished speaking, Anna laughed. She raised an eyebrow and said, "Let him show me to you. Who do you think you are?" Makoto joked. "I'm his godfather, Makoto." Then he added, "This kid George can be a mess. If he ever bullies you, just come to me. I'll have your back." As he spoke, he reached out to pat my shoulder, but I sidestepped and pushed his hand away. That was exactly how he'd talked to Willow back then. According to the bullet comments, every time Willow fought with me afterward, she'd go complain to Makoto. That was how they ended up getting closer and closer. Having learned from past experience, there was no way I was letting Anna get snatched away by Makoto too. Anna snorted and said, "Who the hell do you think you are? Offering to have my back?" Growing more impatient, she continued, "If you've got time for this nonsense, hurry up and carry her out of here. Showing up in the middle of the night and dumping a woman into my boyfriend's home, what kind of behavior is that? Is this how casual you usually are? Maybe you don't find it disgusting, but we do." Makoto was usually silver-tongued, but now he was completely shut down. Look at that mouth. If I'd had even half her verbal firepower, I wouldn't have been crushed by Makoto all these years. Seeing that I had no intention of stopping him, Makoto ground his teeth and could only leave with Willow, who was completely drunk. After they were gone, Anna shot me a sideways glance. She said, "What kind of friends are these? I'm starting to think your judgment of people is really not great." After saying that, she probably felt she'd cast the net too wide and added, "Though I guess I'm not bad." Wow. Insulting others while casually praising herself. Still, seeing Makoto get shut down did make me feel a bit satisfied. In a good mood, I decided not to argue with her and asked with a grin, "I really like that mouth of yours. Is it for sale?" After I asked, Anna frowned and thought about it for a moment. Then she suddenly stood on her tiptoes, leaned in, and lightly pecked the corner of my lips. My brain completely short-circuited. Anna gave a soft snort and said, "Not for sale, but you can use it anytime." Right after that, my vision was completely flooded with bullet comments. "It's happening. It's happening. Everyone, the 8-episode rule never lies. The Giorana ship is officially sailing. Heavens above. Insulin, someone get me insulin right now. Ha ha ha." Meanwhile, sharp-tongued Anna is probably wrapped in her blanket screaming silently in her room. Does she even know she's going to become a domineering female CEO one day? Wrapped in a blanket, screaming silently. The mental image was way too vivid. I shamelessly imagined it for a second. When I finally snapped back to my senses, I realized that at some point, my hand had unconsciously lifted, gently rubbing the spot where she had kissed me. Chapter 5. The very next day, Makoto acted as if nothing had happened. He called me to ask about Anna. I remembered that when I had just started dating Willow, he'd done the same thing, asking question after question. Now he was repeating the same old trick. Clearly, he'd given up on Willow and was preparing to conquer Anna instead. It was like every time I switched girlfriends, his target switched along with them. At this point, I was starting to wonder, was he really into my girlfriends? Or was he actually into me? In the end, I got fed up with his questions. I said, "Weren't you curious about what she does? She picks up trash." Any other questions? Makoto fell silent for a few seconds. Then he said, "George, that's not very funny. If you don't want to tell me, just say so. Why brush me off like that? I've always treated you as a close friend, but now it feels like you're drifting further and further away from me." Heh, trying to PUA me with fake brotherhood now. When he was flirting behind my back with my girlfriend, why didn't he think about us being bros then? That said, I wasn't actually lying. After my guidance, Anna really had transformed from a little beggar into a girl who picked up trash, still going out early and coming back late every day, collecting it with extreme dedication. Sure, you could call that honest hard work, but no matter how I thought about it, this didn't exactly scream future domineering female CEO, did it? That night, when Anna came home, I finally couldn't help asking, "Do you have any plans lately? You're about to turn 18, shouldn't you start writing a business plan or something?" Anna looked at me like I was mentally ill. She frowned and said, "Have you ever seen a beggar write a business plan?" Fair enough, I hadn't. Anna shot me a sideways glance and said, "Relax. My income from selling recyclables is very stable. I don't need you to support me. I mean, maybe start by paying back the money you stole for that bread." Honestly, over this period of time, living with Anna had been pretty comfortable. She didn't talk much, her cooking was good, and most importantly, she was beautiful. Even if she did nothing but sit on the couch, just looking at her made me happy. What made me even happier was that after staying far away from the main cast, the annoying bullet comments flashing in front of me had gradually disappeared. After all, the plot revolved around the protagonists. Side characters like me who'd dropped out of the group. No one cared how we lived. I didn't expect that this peaceful life would only last a few days. That morning, just after I woke up, I suddenly saw floating bullet comments again. Holy shit, what kind of unhinged character is Willow? I could kind of understand her being shady with Makoto, but now she's trying to seduce Makoto's dad. Another comment read, why can't I understand the plot at all anymore? How did it suddenly turn into her wanting to be Makoto and George's stepmom? Then came one more. In half an hour, George's mom is about to be written off. That last comment panicked me. He said, my mom. Realizing something was wrong, I bolted for the door. I happened to run into Anna, who had just finished putting on makeup and was about to head out to pick up trash. She asked, where are you going? In my mind, Anna was still just a kid. I didn't want her to worry, so I answered vaguely. Something came up. She asked, you're going barefoot? Only then did I realize I hadn't even changed my clothes. I rushed back into the room to get dressed. When I came out, I found that Anna still hadn't left. She said, I'll go with you. I waved my hand. No need. Anna didn't respond. She just silently followed me out the door. Strangely enough, taxis that were usually easy to hail were nowhere to be found today. Just as I was getting anxious, a horn sounded in the distance. The next moment, Makoto got out of a black car parked downstairs. He asked, George, what's going on? Given the urgency, I didn't bother holding back. My mom might be in trouble. Makoto raised an eyebrow. Get in. It wasn't until the car had been driving for quite a while that I suddenly remembered. Anna didn't seem to have followed us. Chapter 6. When I got home, I walked straight into Willow clinging to my dad like a water snake, wrapping herself all over him, even with mental preparation. I was still completely stunned by this outrageous move. With this level of explicitness, was this really allowed to be aired? I shouted angrily, what the hell are you doing? Willow clearly hadn't expected me to come back. The moment she heard my voice, she panicked, but worthy of being the female lead. Her mental fortitude was impressive. Willow immediately adjusted her expression and turned around, throwing herself straight into my arms. Choking up, she said, George, you're finally here. She cried with tears streaming down her face, her shoulders trembling as she sobbed. You haven't contacted me for so long. I was worried I'd upset you somehow. So I came to your house today to apologize. But I never expected Uncle would. Before she could finish, Makoto completely lost it. He charged up to my dad and shouted angrily, I've always respected you as an elder. I never imagined you'd even lay hands on George's girlfriend. Then he said to Willow, don't be afraid, we're all here. Makoto pulled Willow into his arms, then shot me a meaningful glance and added, even if George won't stand up for you, I'll make sure you get justice. At that point, I really couldn't hold it in anymore. I said, Willow, are you fucking kidding me? Have you never been to my place before? You knew to ask Makoto to drive you to my apartment back then, but now you don't know where to apologize. You think my eyes are just for decoration. When I walked in, wasn't it you clinging to my dad? And now you're putting on this act. Who exactly are you performing for? What? Is this some kind of magic trick for me? Cheating once wasn't enough, so now you're planning to become my stepmother too? At that moment, it was like the sharp-tongued Anna had possessed me. I turned to Makoto and said, Makoto, did your brain get blown apart by your own farts to spew out something this foul? Who the hell do you think you are? Do you even have the right to speak here? Keep talking shit and I'll gladly show you who actually can't protect you. After I finished speaking, Makoto was so furious his teeth were grinding. He stuttered you for a long time without managing to get a full sentence out. He glared at my dad, but my dad had no intention of revealing his real identity. He only said calmly, I'll let this go since you're a junior. Leave my house immediately. Makoto clenched his jaw, grabbed Willow, and turned to leave. Only after everything was completely settled did my mom return home from grocery shopping. The moment she saw me, joy lit up her face. George, you're back. Why didn't you tell me? I could have cooked something nice for you. According to the original plot, this was supposed to be the moment when my mom walked in on my dad and Willow together, suffered a sudden heart attack, and died because she wasn't rescued in time. But now, she was still alive. That was really good. Before leaving, I walked over to my dad. With a blank expression, I said, I'm not interested in your business, and I don't care whether Willow is your lover or not. But if anyone dares to lay a finger on my mom, I won't let it go. That night, when I returned to my apartment, I ran into Willow, who had been waiting at the entrance. She choked up and said, George, I was wrong. She grabbed my arm and said, it was Makoto. What happened today? He told me to do it. He wanted revenge on the Wong family, so he begged me to act out that scene. I don't know what came over me. I just agreed in a daze. But I swear, nothing really happened between us. She paused, her voice dropping. As for the past, I really did wrong by you. When I was with you, I had feelings for him. I even thought it was love. But today I finally saw things clearly. He's been using me all along. She looked up at me, her eyes red. After going in circles, I finally realized the person I truly love has always been you. Can we start over? Hearing that, I fell silent. Not because I was moved, just shocked. This Willow, her sense of entitlement was seriously something else. While I wasn't saying anything, the viewers misunderstood. Bullet comments started pouring in one after another. Some cursed. This woman really has no shame. I'm gonna puke. George isn't seriously going to get back together with that trashy woman, is he? If he does, I'm dropping this. Bro, forget her. Anna has been waiting for you downstairs for 7 hours. Why aren't you rushing home to comfort the girl? Anna waited for me for 7 hours. Holy shit, I was done for. You know that feeling, like driving halfway down the highway and suddenly realizing you left your girlfriend at a rest stop. I whipped my head around and searched frantically. Sure enough, under a tree not far away, I saw that girl. Her skirt fluttered gently in the breeze. I couldn't see her expression clearly, only that her fists were clenched tightly at her sides. I crooked my finger at Willow, who was still waiting for an answer, and said, "Let me tell you a secret. Actually, you and Makoto are the real official pairing, the kind where a cheating scumbag and a trashy woman are locked together forever. Just seeing you is bad luck. Please don't wait around downstairs at my place anymore. It's kind of creepy. Thanks." Without caring about Willow's reaction, I turned and walked straight toward Anna. Grinning, I pinched her cheek in a placating way. "You waited so long, why didn't you call me?" She snapped back angrily. "You turned your phone off. What was I supposed to call?" "Damn, couldn't you have said that earlier?" Anna shot me an irritated look. I took the initiative to explain. "I didn't leave you behind on purpose today. The situation was complicated. My mom has a heart condition. She had surgery last year, and the doctor said her emotions can't fluctuate too much. And then I heard that Willow and my dad were tangled up at my house. I was afraid my mom would find out and something would happen. So I rushed back." She still didn't say anything. I poked her again. She dodged. I wasn't very good at comforting women, and Anna's coldness left me a bit at a loss. After waiting for a while with no response, I started to lose patience. I said, "If you don't believe me, then forget it." I turned to leave, but suddenly, someone grabbed my right hand. She said, "That's it. You think that counts as comforting me? The what else do you want me to do?" Look on my face completely set Anna off. She pinched my arm and scolded me. "George, can you please treat me like a woman instead of a kid already? And there are 21 days left. Next time, it won't slide." Chapter 7. Pursuing Anna was not easy at all. Most people her age were still in school. Aside from studying, their biggest hobbies were probably binge-watching dramas or chasing celebrities. But Anna was an outlier. She didn't go to school. She didn't chase stars. She liked picking up trash. And after that incident, she did it even more relentlessly. Out early, back late. One night, I cautiously asked her, "Is there anything you like, or anywhere you want to go?" Anna glanced at me and said, "If I have to tell you everything, why don't I just agree to date you outright?" I replied, "That works too." Anna gave me a single word in response. "Heh, she's just a trash picker. What's she acting so proud for?" After thinking it over, I still felt the best gift I could give Anna was letting her continue her education. I learned by chance that Anna grew up in an orphanage. After graduating from middle school, she dropped out. She was young, a girl, and it was hard to find proper work. She'd even almost been tricked into working in shady places. With at least a high school diploma, even if she never became rich, she could still get a decent job, right? But I didn't expect Anna to be extremely resistant to the idea of going back to school. I said, "I'm not saying you have to get into some great university. It's just that at your age, you're supposed to." She cut me off. "Supposed to what?" "Supposed to study, go to school, take exams, and get into college?" Biting her lip, Anna said, "George, you've really got some nerve. I told you to treat me like a woman you're pursuing, and now you're raising me like a daughter. What kind of nonsense is this?" I said, "I pulled strings for this for whose sake? Why are you so impossible to talk to?" She snapped back. "Then save your connections for your future daughter. I don't need a dad." We went into a cold war. A full week, neither of us spoke to the other. Anna still made breakfast for me every morning, but like a rebellious teenage daughter, she never called me, not once. I was angry, sure, but after cooling down, I replayed our conversation in my head, and it kind of felt like she wasn't entirely wrong. As Anna's birthday drew closer, I started getting anxious. Several times I wanted to find a chance to break the ice, but I never knew how to start. That frustration spilled over into work. Even my coworkers noticed I was distracted. They insisted on dragging me out to eat and drink together. At first, I didn't want to go, but Anna left early and came back late every day anyway. Going home just meant zoning out alone. After thinking about it, I agreed. I didn't expect that the moment I stepped out of the office and turned the corner, I'd see Anna. She was wearing gloves. Her oversized jacket was filthy. Wait, wasn't that the new one I'd just bought? Lisa from the sales department was talking with her. She said, "These computers are all scrapped. Sell all of them." I hadn't known Anna collected a company's discarded computers. I stopped walking and stared at the girl without blinking. Anna sensed my gaze and looked up. Our eyes met. My coworkers noticed her too. Someone whispered nearby, "Damn, she's actually pretty. How did she end up picking up trash?" Someone else joked, "George, why are you staring so hard? Want me to help you get her contact info?" I wasn't sure whether Anna heard them, but she quickly looked away. Her expression was calm, like she didn't know me at all. I couldn't stand that kind of indifference. I called out, "Hey." Anna ignored me. Lisa turned around and said, "What's wrong, George?" I called again, "Anna." I stepped forward, wanting to help her carry the stuff. Only then did Anna lift her eyes and look at me like a stranger. "You sell scrap too?" When I didn't answer, she brushed my hand aside and loaded the discarded computers onto her tricycle by herself. She said, "If not, don't get in the way of my work." Then she pedaled off without looking back. Chapter 8. Because of Anna's attitude. I ate that meal completely absent-mindedly. My coworkers chatted away beside me, while I sat there in silence, pouring drink after drink down my throat. By the time I snapped back to my senses, my head was already fuzzy. In a daze, I heard them talking. "That beauty we saw today, she's seriously gorgeous. How did she end up collecting scrap? Isn't that a waste?" "Yeah, if she can't be a celebrity, even live streaming would make more money than that." "That won't work either. Live streaming platforms take a cut. How about I just keep her myself?" He. They were joking around. The more I listened, the more uncomfortable I felt. I slammed the table. "No." They jumped in shock. Someone asked, "What's not okay?" I shook my head hard, reeking of alcohol. "Anna, mine." "You guys, no." Someone asked again, "Who's Anna?" My head was spinning. I didn't even register the question, just staggered toward the exit. There was only one thought in my mind. I had to find that damn girl. Absolutely could not let her get kept by someone else. My coworkers were worried and ran out after me. The moment I got outside, I called Anna. She picked up instantly. "What are you doing?" I snapped angrily. "Didn't you say you were waiting for me to pursue you? Then why did you secretly let someone keep you?" Anna was full of question marks. I ground my teeth. "Fine. Even if you were going to be kept, why didn't you let me keep you first? Say something." The more I talked, the more incoherent it got. In the end, Anna could only tell me to hand the phone to one of my coworkers. They probably gave her the location. Anyway, after I squatted by the roadside for a bit, Anna showed up. She came in a hurry. She was still wearing that jacket of mine. Some coworkers recognized her and were so shocked they couldn't even speak. I ignored everyone's reactions and waved at Anna. "My legs are numb. I can't get up." Anna was speechless. She snorted softly, bent down, and helped me up. Grinning, I waved at everyone. "Then I'll head off with my wife first. Enjoy yourselves." My coworkers were completely dumbfounded. They nodded stiffly. After walking a bit in silence, something occurred to me and I started making a fuss. "Where's my car? Our family has such a big luxury car." She replied, "Since when did you have a car?" I said, "How could I not? Didn't you ride it today?" Anna pressed her lips together. "No," I roared. "Yes. No. Yes." In the end, Anna couldn't argue with me anymore. She led me through 2 alleys and brought me to a shed. I recognized that blue little 3-wheeled cart. I jumped onto it in one move, grinning stupidly at Anna. "Get on. Big brother will take you for a ride." Anna rubbed her temples and said, "Idiot." Then she sighed. "You'll regret this tomorrow." I didn't understand what she meant by regret, because I passed out drunk very quickly. When I woke up again, I was already lying in bed, even though I'd been drunk. My memory was still intact. Thinking about all the stupid things I'd done the night before, I couldn't help pounding my chest in despair. I used to think that in front of Anna, I was at least a mature, steady man. Now look at me, completely ruined. According to Anna's routine, she usually went out to collect scrap at 7, just to be safe. I deliberately stayed in bed until 8, but the moment I opened the door, I saw Anna sitting upright on the sofa. When she saw me come out, she stood up and said, "There's porridge in the kitchen. Eat some to warm your stomach." I stammered, I don't really have an appetite." I didn't dare meet her eyes. "I'm late. I'm heading to work." With that, I bolted. Behind me, Anna pressed her lips together. She said, "You regret it?" "Huh?" She said, "You called me over yesterday. Now your coworkers probably all know you're keeping a little beggar." I froze. Only then did I realize what Anna meant. So she misunderstood my awkwardness. She thought I was embarrassed by her. Suddenly, everything made sense. Why Anna had been so resistant when I suggested she go back to school. Why she'd acted cold and distant when she ran into me with my coworkers. And why, when I rushed into that car and forgot to bring her along. It became a thorn buried deep in her heart. She started feeling inferior. Started becoming sensitive. I couldn't forget the Anna from when we first met. Arrogant. Willful. Her mouth like a machine gun. Snapping at anyone who crossed her. Poor. But unrestrained and radiant. But because of me. Anna had changed. I didn't want any more negative emotions to take root in her heart. I cupped her face and kissed her. When I pulled back, I met Anna's stunned eyes. I smiled apologetically and said, "Actually, I've always felt you're too young, and that when it comes to love, you should have more choices, but right now, I've never looked forward to your 18th birthday as much as I do at this moment. Anna, no matter what the future holds, right now, I want to have you." Chapter 9. Because I'd truly fallen for Anna. I finally stopped drifting through life without purpose. Living started to feel meaningful, but while I was spending time with Anna, the main cast didn't slow down at all. Makoto, all by himself, was pushing the plot forward like a madman. A few days later, I received news that my dad had been officially placed under investigation. If my guess was right, this should have been the final arc of the story. According to the original ending, my dad would be set up by Makoto and sent to prison. Makoto would then gain recognition from the company's top management, be voted in as the new CEO, marry Willow, and live happily ever after. But in reality, the plot had already started to derail. For example, my mom was still alive. I wasn't dead either. As for my dad, honestly, whatever happened to him was none of my concern. Yet despite that, the one being investigated was the first to contact me. The moment he opened his mouth, he asked me to take the fall for him and assume his debts. "I've already arranged an escape route for you," he said. "You just need to put your name on it for now. Once the company survives this wave, all the debts will be restructured." I was completely dumbfounded. "What?" he said. "I'm under investigation right now. You should have heard. The company is in trouble. And this is exactly when you should step up and shoulder the responsibility." I couldn't help laughing. "Why should I listen to you?" he said. "Because you're my son, Pablo's son." "Oh, I see." I deliberately dragged out my words. "Isn't Makoto also your son? Go ask him." My dad clearly hadn't expected me to know. He fell silent for a few seconds. "Who told you that?" I laughed. "Aren't you the one who's been desperately trying to keep this secret? If people found out that what you're going through today was actually caused by the son you abandoned over 20 years ago, don't you think the media would love that story?" I continued. "Oh, and they might even dig deeper and uncover how Makoto's mother actually died back then." "George," I said calmly, "if you don't want the past dragged into the light, hurry up and divorce my mom. Don't let your mess involve her. I won't agree to anything you ask, otherwise, tomorrow's front page headlines will be all about the wonderful things you and your precious son have done." With that, I hung up, grinding out a single word through my teeth. "Serves you right." When I looked up, Anna was leaning against the doorframe, watching me. I froze and asked, "You heard all that?" I gave a bitter smile. "Am I kind of a terrible person?" She replied, "I don't think so." Anna shot me a glance and said softly, "You could be even worse. For example." She lightly bit her lower lip, her gaze slowly turning sticky and suggestive. Only then did I realize what she meant. I said helplessly, "I'm going to sleep." She asked, "With me?" "Get lost." A few days later, I received a call from my mom. My dad had finally agreed to divorce her. His condition was that I continue helping him keep the secret about Makoto's mother's death all those years ago. And just like that, a parental relationship tangled for over 20 years finally came to an end. But the war between my dad and Makoto wasn't over yet. Originally, I thought the final outcome wouldn't change at all. I didn't expect that at the critical moment, the company would receive an injection of capital from the Sun Group. Not only that, Pablo was also successfully elected as the next chairman. This move completely stunned me. I had to admit, my old man actually had some tricks up his sleeve. A last-minute comeback like this, seriously. A few days later, I finally found out why. Because I saw the news that Makoto was about to get engaged to the Sun Group's heiress. And in that same report, Pablo publicly acknowledged, for the first time, his father-son relationship with Makoto. I had to admit, Makoto really did have something going for him. After all, it was rumored that the Sun Group's heiress had an intellectual disability. With a plot development like this, I almost wanted to start sending bullet comments myself. Makoto's wedding happened in a huge rush. Almost the very next day, the ceremony was held. As his good brother, of course I didn't miss it. With two corporations joining forces, the wedding was extravagantly done. Makoto was dressed in a formal suit, wearing his trademark fake smile. And this was my first time seeing the Sun Group's eldest daughter. She was actually pretty cute, just that she smiled at everyone in a rather silly, vacant way. Makoto's gaze turned gloomy as he said, "You must be feeling pretty pleased with yourself right now, huh?" After the photos were taken, Makoto looked straight at me. I was completely baffled. He enunciated every word clearly. "I married something like that. You must be overjoyed, right? Who he married had fuck all to do with me." Makoto suddenly burst into loud laughter. "Ha ha ha. Go ahead. Laugh all you want at me. A real man knows when to bend and when to stand tall. Now I don't just have the Wong Group backing me, even the Sun Group will be mine sooner or later. And you're still nothing but a broke nobody. You'll never turn your life around." Even at this point, he still couldn't resist stepping on me. Is there seriously something wrong with this guy's head? Chapter 10. On Anna's birthday. I felt even more excited than she did. I couldn't really explain why I was so happy. Maybe it was because Anna had built things up for so long that I couldn't help but start looking forward to it. But when I woke up that morning, the living room was completely empty. The woman who waited to eat breakfast with me every single day was gone on such an important day. That felt strange. I walked to the door and suddenly noticed a package placed on the floor. I opened it. Inside was a small robot dressed in a maid outfit. I turned it on. The robot spoke. "Hello, Master." The voice sounded familiar. Why did it sound a little like Anna? The robot continued. "Giovanna, no. 1. Happy to serve you, Giovanna." George and Anna. I raised an eyebrow and finally realized this was definitely something Anna had deliberately left here. I instinctively asked, "Where's Anna?" The little robot actually answered me. You guess. Good grief, that really was Anna. Even the tone was exactly the same. So today, Anna wanted me to go find her. I dialed Anna's number. "Where are you?" I asked. She replied, "Did you see the gift?" I patted the little robot's head. "Isn't today your birthday? Why did you give me a robot?" She said, "Didn't you say you wanted to buy my mouth? I made you a mouth substitute. When you're bored, you can talk to her." A mouth substitute? I fiddled with the little robot, speechless. Then I heard Anna say, "George, as long as you find me, I'll accept your pursuit and go home with you." After that, she hung up. I frowned. What kind of birthday is this? Why does she have to be so restless? Where was I supposed to find her? I tapped the robot's head unhappily and asked, "Do you know where your mom is?" She replied, "I'll give you a hint, the place you first met." Damn it, this robot could really hold a conversation. The place we first met, was it the Western restaurant where I'd planned to propose to Willow? I stuffed the little robot into my backpack and rushed out toward the restaurant. I even felt a faint sense of anticipation, but nothing. That was strange. Standing on the street, I couldn't think of anywhere else we might have first met. Suddenly, I noticed someone carrying a cake bag. It looked familiar. I muttered to myself, "Isn't that the shop where Anna stole the bread?" The little robot immediately protested. "Anna doesn't steal. She doesn't steal." Then where did the bread come from? She bought it. As if guided by something unseen, I lifted my foot and walked toward the bakery across the street. The moment I pushed the door open, the shop owner smiled as if she already knew me. "You're looking for Anna, right?" I asked. "You know me." The owner smiled. "Come with me." She led me to the innermost room on the second floor of the bakery. She pushed the door open. Inside was a very small workshop. It was filled with all kinds of things. All of them collected scrap. Spread out on the table were electronic components dismantled from discarded items. The owner said, "Anna is an impressive girl." Smiling warmly, she added, "The one you're holding, that was made by her." I froze. What? I stared at the exquisite little robot in my hands. "You're saying, this was made by Anna?" I never imagined Anna could do things like this. At that moment, I finally understood how Anna would become a wealthy woman in the future. While I was still in shock, Anna appeared. She flicked her hair and said, "I thought it'd take you much longer. Turns out you're not that stupid." I pointed at the pile of things around us. "What is all this?" She said calmly, "George, this place is my world." Chapter 11. Only now did I finally realize Anna actually had her own workshop. Anna explained, "I rented this place a year ago. At first, I just really liked tinkering with these little things, but I didn't have enough money. So during the day I worked as a server. I used that income to pay the rent here, then went around different places collecting scrap, dismantling it to replenish my inventory. Those things are cheap, you don't need to spend much money to buy them. Later on, I just got better and better at it. The little toys I made could even sell for a pretty good price." I was stunned. "So, you're not poor?" Anna frowned. "Did I ever say I was poor?" I asked. "Then why did you come home with me and say you were going to sleep under a bridge?" Anna looked a bit wronged. "Wasn't it you who grabbed me and insisted on taking me home?" "Oh, So now this is my fault. I scratched my head. Anna smiled and held out her hand. Give it to me. I looked confused. Give you what? She said. The bank card. Anna blinked. The 200,000. This woman, she doesn't even lack money. So why is she still eyeing my little savings? My hard-earned cash. I pulled it out of my pocket and slapped it firmly into her palm. Take it all. But Anna grabbed the other end, spun around, and leaned into my arms. She pulled a piece of paper out of her bag and handed it to me. I unfolded it in confusion. At the very top of the A4 sheet, I saw 3 bold words. Business plan. Wait, she still remembered that. The handwriting wasn't pretty. Each stroke was careful and stiff, even a little childish. Anna's face flushed red as she said, I'm not very good at this. Could you help me? My investor. I looked at her neat, blocky, elementary school style handwriting. I couldn't help laughing. Of course I can. Then I shook my head and added, but just putting in money and waiting for dividends doesn't sit right with me. How about this? You assign me some work too. I'll do anything as long as you need me. When she heard that, Anna's eyes curved into a smile. She said, as long as I need it, you'll do anything. Then she leaned close to my ear and whispered a few words. I licked my lips and said, Anna. She tilted her head. I'm an adult now. At that moment, the bullet comments, gone for so long, suddenly reappeared. We waited so long for this. Finally, Tsundara Anna's birthday. I kept watching this absolute dumpster fire drama just for this moment. Is there really something whispered that I, a distinguished VIP, am not allowed to hear? Turn the volume all the way up. When are we getting a spin-off of Anna and George? I want to see their happy life after they succeed in business. Later, I asked Anna why she liked me. She said, I once had a dream. Anna looked at me and said, in the dream, I went out to work, carrying trays and washing dishes for people. I worked hard for a whole year, but in the end, all my money was scammed away. Homeless and starving, I snuck into a bakery and stole a loaf of bread. When I ran out, I bumped into someone. As she spoke, Anna smiled. He had just proposed successfully. The girl beside him was holding roses. His fiancée pushed me to the ground in disgust, but he helped me up and gave me 100 yuan. He said, a person can be poor, but must not steal. Later, he went out of his way to contact people and sponsored me to finish high school. My heart started pounding wildly. I never knew that, in the original storyline, Anna and I had such a connection. I asked, what happened after that? She said, later, because of my inferiority, I missed my chance with him. By the time I contacted him again, he had already passed away, and his former fiancée ended up with his best friend. Anna lifted her hand and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Maybe it was fate. Later on, I really did meet that person again, but luckily, everything turned out different from the dream. I wrapped Anna in my arms. I said, I love you. Anna stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. She curved her lips into a smile and said, me too. When Anna turned 20, we registered our marriage. On the way home, I suddenly felt dizzy. Then I saw the bullet comments. Gone for 2 whole years. Flood back in. Everyone was posting in unison. Can someone tell me why this trashy drama even has a second season? Honestly, I have zero interest in Makoto's revenge plot. Okay, guys. Season 2, Never Seeing You Again. When I came back to my senses, I met Anna's anxious gaze. She asked, honey, what's wrong? Nothing. I smiled. I said, it has nothing to do with us. Those over-the-top, melodramatic revenge plots, they no longer had anything to do with me.